There's an old expression, I think it's biblical, that says, by their fruits ye shall know them. And as most of us know, March is Women's History Month. And I, of course, want to try to highlight and focus and feature, analyze and explain the necessity and the importance of women's history. And unlike a lot of brothers, I realized where we would be were it not for the women. I'm going to just say it and y'all get mad with me if you want to. But they have played a phenomenal and measurable and documentable role in the success of this, particularly as it relates to African American success. So when I discovered or found out that Women's History Month is upon us, I say, whom can we interview that will depict and be a perfect example, not only for the present, but for the past and for the future of Women's History Month. And then something in my head kept saying, Elaine, 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 Elaine. And so, I heeded that little green voice in my head and said, for Women's History Month, based on the adage, by their fruits ye shall know them, it should be none other than Commissioner Elaine Lucas. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you so much. I am so flattered and honored that, you would ask me to be on a program for Women's History Month. This means a lot to me.
And you are so deserving. And it means a lot to me to be able to interview you. And then, a lot of people, really don't know. I mean, you didn't just jump up and be the commissioner. You didn't just jump up and be as effective as you are. You didn't just jump up and be the founder of E.L. Lucas School. It was a process. So just kind of walk us, if you would. You can go back as far, you can go back before you met David, when you were living,
Yeah.
when you were living close to me.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because what I want to do, Commissioner, is I want you to kind of walk through it because, we need, I just left a meeting and Major Woodford told me, said, well, I hope somebody coming along have a sham because, I don't mean no harm, but you ain't going to be here forever. I said, I know. He said, you're going to your back porch. I said, I'm going to go to the Lord one day too. So, but just kind of walk us through in an effort to kind of motivate, the community, particularly young African-American women. Just kind of walk through your history for us a little bit.
Well, I want to thank you again. This is an honor, and this is a wonderful program, and it allows the community to be informed about a lot of things. So thank you again. But I I guess I've always wanted to be a teacher. I always wanted to be as a little girl growing up in the bottom in Crestville Heights in Bellevue. I would get my brothers and sisters, the ones that I could catch, and I would put them out under the tree in the chairs, and I would get, whatever papers I could get. I even got the little dogs and cats and put them out there, and we would have school. I always wanted to be a teacher, and went through elementary school, and I still wanted to be a teacher. I always admired teachers because I just thought they were really cool. They just really, they dressed up, they were role models, they spoke correctly. They were counselors and played all of these different roles in the lives of children during the segregated schools. And we felt that love and that concern. And, they would visit your home and all of that and help you with different things. And I always did well in school. And so as I grew up and went to Ballard Hudson, and then I became a part of that one of those first groups that was asked to transfer to what had been predominantly white schools. And so I did. I transferred over to Miller Senior High School in 10th grade. And we were met with a whole lot of, I mean, you're talking about some trash, some stuff. There were people who didn't want to teach the Black girls. There were some who, didn't, they felt like they were being forced to integrate and all of this stuff. So that was an experience, but I'm going to tell you this. When I was getting ready to graduate, 12th grade year, had done fairly well there. One teacher, a social studies teacher, Mrs. Elizabeth Katz, a white social studies teacher, came to me and she made note of the fact that I had been in the business track at Miller, bookkeeping, typing, all of that stuff. So I was scheduled to go to work. This woman came to me and said, "Why are you not going to college?" And see, by that time, I had been sidetracked from the teaching career. I was going to go to work. And so Ms. Katz said, "Why are you not going to college?" And I said, "Well, I didn't know why I wasn't going to college." I said, "Well, I'm going to work." Well, Ms. Katz told me, "Go to the counselor's office, get the application. There's a new school that's opening up, Macon Junior College. That was its first year in operation." She said, get the application, take the SAT, and get them to help you to complete that process, and you go on to school. And I've discussed with her how I'd always wanted to be a teacher. And so she explained to me, this is the way you do it. Go on to college, get your degree and teach. So all Blacks aren't good, all whites aren't bad. And so I learned that lesson at Miller Senior High School. And from there, the rest is history. I went on to Macon Junior College, did my first 2 years, and then was recruited and transferred to the Savannah State College at that time, our alma mater, and got my degree in education with honors, and then came back home, got the call from the person who was the personnel director then. His name was Dual Pitts. And he called me in Savannah and said, "We have a teaching position for you in Macon." I had already signed the contract over in South Carolina because everybody was kind of slow, And so I took that job. But when he called, I called over to South Carolina and told them, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to get out of this contract." I came on back home and I was assigned to Springdale to teach second grade, one of the newest schools in Bibb County. And I found out later on that in a way I had been kind of discriminated against because I didn't have any say-so in where I went to teach. I would have loved to have gone to a school which was majority Black, where I could impact Black children more. But I can truthfully say that Springdale was a blessing. I had a wonderful beginning of my career. The parents were very supportive. I see some of my little second grade students around Macon, Bibb County now, who are holding elected office. There's one. There's some who are in all kinds of fields, Black and white. And so I can just truthfully say that because Mrs. Katz at Miller Senior High School said, "Why are you not going to college?" I was then able to fulfill my dream of going to college. And of course, Ella and Leonard Huckabee were there pushing me all the way and saying, "You can be what you want to be, you can get your work, so we're going to support you." And at Savannah State, I remember my mother would send me periodically, she would send me an envelope that had $10 in it. Now, these kids today don't understand the relevance of $10. $10 at that time paid my fare for my bus tokens from out to Savannah State for the week. And then it bought me my lunch, my sausage sandwich, and that big old drink. And you remember it from the snack bar. And that my mother, that was her contribution to my college education. And so people need to remember folks who do the same. $10 was a sacrifice for my mother, but she would fold it up in aluminum foil and put it in that envelope and address it to me and send it to me. And that kept me going. And I finished college and came back home to work. While I was at Savannah State, Dr. Otis Johnson, who later became, he was a professor, he later became one of the mayors of Savannah. He sent us out into the community to do voter registration with families that were underserved. And I fell in love with voter registration and organizing and community involvement, citizenship, all of that. And when I came back to Macon, I connected with Herbert Bernard and some others who were involved in civic affairs and turning this community around. I got involved with some of the things that they were doing. Voter registration was one of those things. And I'm proud to say that you and Herbert and Frank Johnson, Dorothy Johnson, a number of other folks, the late Robert Brown, joined together and we formed the Bibb County Voter Registration and Education League. That was back in 75. So you do the math. That organization is still in operation, as well as another organization, the Black Student Unification, that Herbert and Charles Howard and a number of us formed back out at Macon Junior College, and it's still in operation. So I am just proud to be Maconite. I'm proud that people have trusted me to elect me to office. I served 25 years as a city council member. And now when I finish this term, we're term limited. So my term will end in 2.5 more years. But I will have served around 30, 35 years total as an elected official on the council and on the commission. And I just want to thank people for their support. People have prayed for me. People have given me an opportunity to do things. They have listened to some of the things that I've had to say. Plus, I've been able to impart some knowledge and some people skills through counseling to a whole lot of folks, a whole lot of children in this community. So I am so grateful. And I have to say, Mr. Habersham, that my first apartment I rented was your garage apartment that I rented from you and your wife many, many years ago. And I loved having that little apartment was like a castle to me because it was mine, my very own. And that was when the senator and I started dating. He was representative then. We started dating, and y'all had to accommodate his cars and stuff blocking your driveway and all of that. But that's just some of the things that come back to me from growing up and then being supported in this community. So if you want to build leaders, you need to find some people that you think have potential and start helping them, encourage them, pray for them, and then allow them to do some things, allow them to show you what they can do. So I am just so blessed to have had that village to help me both in Savannah and here in Macon. And I will continue to work for as long as I'm able to. I'll continue to work in this community to help build for our future.
Well, I want to again, you're the one who ought to be thanked. All of those years that you have been involved in the community, you have been steadfast. And, oftentimes people struggle to find people to give awards to, or find people to recognize, or to find people to invite somewhere for an effort to give an award or for recognition. But you deserve it so much, Commissioner Lucas. You really do. I mean, you have done so much, I mean, unselfishly. And then a lot of it has not been a cakewalk for you. I know that. You can say it, but I
No,
would say it
yeah,
because some of the initiative and some of the times that you stood up, for what you felt was right, and many instances they were, but you did it from your heart, and you did it.
right,
Hey, something. We as a community need to mirror you. There's such a need for people to understand, particularly all the people who got some whim of success, that it was not automatic, that you had to, that all of these lawyers and doctors and professionals and folk driving Mercedes and Bentleys and all of that, I'm talking about
yeah,
Black folk,
uh-huh,
you know what I'm saying,
yeah,
would not be in a position to gain what they have gained, accomplish what they have accomplished without people like you. And even before you, there are people whose shoulders you stand and stood on.
absolutely,
So I think
absolutely,
one of the things I want you to just talk about briefly is the importance of community involvement and giving back, and some of your experiences in doing that.
right. There are so many people who have so much talent. They have energy, um, and they're in all age groups. People can do stuff no matter where you are as far as age or your life situation. You can always help somebody. There's some people who think, well, I can't do much. I don't know this. I don't know that. That is a cop out. That's a lazy person's way out of stuff. Everybody can do something to help in this community. We still need people to care for children. We still need people to help with mentoring children and showing them the right way. We've got to get our children back to a place where they stop killing each other. And that takes from the ground up. And we have got to keep our churches strong. We've got to continue our involvement with those positive things that are going on. The ministers in our church have to realize how much power and influence and respect that they carry by just being a person of faith. who is a leader of other people. And they need to get busy and show people that they have potential. They need to start using their resources to help people, that it's not going to take anything away from you if you help and share something with other people. And so I just think that we have got to offer ourselves to those people who want to do. They may be a little misguided, but we can help to guide them in the right direction. And I would say to anybody who's interested in doing anything, you first have to learn what it is that you need to know to do
Mm.
whatever the job is. You can't do anything if you don't know what it's about. I say to people who are wanting to run for office, who might want to run for the commission, have you read the charter? Read the charter and you'll find out that some of the things that you're talking about, you won't be able to do it, but find out what you can do. If you're interested in something else, study that, put everything into it, and you will get a lot out of it. I've always said too, books and the ballot, those are the keys to our future, the keys to our success. If we utilize that ballot and we vote in the numbers that we need to, we can get anything done. We can get anybody that we want in office. But so much of the time, we choose not to vote. We choose to leave it to somebody else, and we choose to say, well, my vote won't count. And they're absolutely right. It won't count if they don't exercise. And if you don't get your education, yeah, you're not going very far, because that's the basic building block of everything. And I don't know what it is with this stuff where people develop permanent problems with folks. They can't ever get past some of the stuff. That's why we're hurting each other. That's why we can backstab each other. We over the years have been trained not to respect each other. If there's a difference between, folks that you respect, staying away from folks who are bad influences, and then over on the other side, there's respect for people and what they bring to the table. And so I think that we've got some lessons. We've got to go back to the basics. We've got to get our education. And when we were growing up, our parents told us, you need to get your education. That's going to be your key. I don't hear as many people saying that now to children. And that does not necessarily mean college, because there's some folks out here who have been trained to work on airplanes.
Uh,
They come right out of high school, go to Central Georgia Tech, and they start out at what, 60,000, the airplanes. So it doesn't necessarily mean college. It means just training, getting the skills that you need so that you can do something for yourself. Um, the society has gotten so many of us in a position where we're dependent on other people for everything, and we've got to become dependent on ourselves. One of the things that you do is the Black pages, and you make available to all anybody who wants it a list of businesses, Black businesses that we can support. We've got to support each other. We have been trained that somebody else's ice is colder, that somebody else's water is wetter, that somebody else's place is cleaner and all that. That's not so. But we've got to get out of that and realize that we have everything we need in our community if we would just help support it and continue to develop it, and by all means respect what we have, respect those folks who have come along, who've paved the way. Because now we get out there and we march and we sing and everything. There's no danger. We're happy. We're all smiling. But when King marched, when Hosea marched, when Dr. Lowry marched, when Lily Ruth Gant Evans marched, all of those folks, that was real danger. And we think we're doing something now by getting out there marching, and it's good. It's good to get out there and show your respect. But remember that there were some people who were in some real danger, and it's not you now. But those people paved the way and they gave their lives. Dr. King was murdered. And those folks who were walking across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they attempted to, were beaten, bloodied for our rights, and then we will not vote. People can predict how they're going to deal with stuff by our pattern of voting. They can look at the statistics and say, well, Black folks don't usually vote this particular month of the year. And they'll put a referendum on there at that time because they're thinking, I resent that. I resent somebody saying that I'm not going to vote and they can do to me what they want to do. That's what Putin's saying. I can do what I want to do. We don't need to be that way. We don't need to be that way. So I would say books and the ballot. With those two things, we can do whatever we want to do. And I don't know whether I answered your question, but I just wanted to make sure that people got that. Books and the ballot.
You more than answered my question, and you've done such a phenomenal job of covering everything I wanted to ask you and more. Let me briefly say that this is a call to action show.
Call to action.
I'm your host, Alex Habersham. This is Women History Month, and I have opted to interview a young lady who has made a phenomenal difference in our community and who has done things that really, really shows why for Women's History Month, the first interviewee is Commissioner Elaine Lucas, who is not only a commissioner now, but she's an educator, she's a community activist, she's initiated program and she continues to do so. She's very interested in young people. So I would hope that this interview and listening to Commissioner Lucas motivate all of us to do more for our community, economically, support businesses, socially, spiritually, politically. We can make a difference.
Okay.
It makes no sense for us to be our own handicap.
Right.
You know, let's not handicap ourselves and let's not handicap our community, as evidenced by the Honorable Commissioner Elaine Lucas, who's on City Council and who has started a school and who is involved in so many endeavors over 35 years. Thank you for the community.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you. This is a call to action. I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed the Honorable Elaine Lucas, who have been involved in our community for decades. Thank you so much for the community, from the community.
www.makingblackpages.com